Hello. As it's well known, the banking crisis started off with an inflationary policy which began with Alan Greenspan and then escalated through a continuous increase in the money supply, which then produced a system which was endemic with systematic risk, okay, which then led to banks taking greater and greater risks with less and less cost to them, and that the exporting of that risk was then on to the final lender of last resort, the central bank. But the central bank is not really the last lender of resort, is it? Because the creditors of the central bank, the people who provide the central bank with its basis of funding, which comes from income tax, are the citizens. Therefore, when the citizens were asked to provide the banks with bailouts, which originally it said comes from the central bank offering those banks loans, really they're lending from the citizens. So therefore, if the citizens are the creditors of the banks, how is it that we can that many citizens are in debt to banks and in debt in their mortgages, their loans, their car, if you're an American, their car repayments, and this sparked a conversation on YouTube, on the site of Vision Victory, who is a very good analysis of economic trends and especially investments. So check him out on YouTube. And this conversation was sparked up by myself saying ownership and control are not the same things, and being a creditor is not the same thing. We can be creditors to the banks, but unless we actually have power over their decisions and control their shares, we are not really the owners of banks. We're not really in control of the banks. Okay? If banks had the power before they were given bailouts from the government, but it's really a central bank, the Bank of England in Britain, the ECB in Europe, and the Federal Reserve in America. But how has that power relationship changed, if at all? Well, someone rightfully said that conceptually and in real actual fact in the power relationship, that common law says ownership is 9/10 possession. Okay, so if the banks really own all the wealth, then we cannot, in truth, own them. But then again, it comes back to, we can say common law does this, common law does that, but is law fit for purpose? Do we need some other law? And my response was, and I read from notes here but I normally don't. I agree that all systems of law, all systems should be based on law, but that the system of law should be based on concepts of natural justice, that they are equitable, serve the community, and provide solutions to problems that face a modern society, culture, and nation. Now, common law develops on a case-by-case basis from the era of the Anglo-Saxons in England. But whilst there is an interplay between common law customs and statute law, i.e. as in the US Constitution, has common law had to deal with a financial crisis of this magnitude? No, it has not. Also, common law has elements of judge-made law which may be affected by the chauvinism, that's the arrogance, egotism, or the prejudice of a judge. And that judge could be conservative, liberal, or in ancient times feudalist, didn't want peasants to have their land, or churls to have land. What is the most importance in any law system is that the law is to contain and eliminate organised crime and power and their influence over the legal decisions. So in the United States Constitution, it makes organised crime in the sense of a king gaining absolute power in a tyranny illegal. Thus, all the state would be focused on stopping that from happening. So, I continue. So, this is an ideal, but we all know that the world, in her self-interest, would be better off if such legal rationalism was the dominant force. So, law's origin is important. It's okay to say common law has this or that effect, but does it suit our modern times? The problem is the chicken or the egg problem of common law. In the UK, no one can make a class action to sue a bank or government, or if it's a firm that pollutes, for causing damage. Nor can we do a class action against the families that own banks, and some of those families are crime families, particularly in the case of in the Middle East and in Russia, and there are some in the United States as well. The law in Britain actually protects crime families from prosecution where a crime has been committed, especially white collar crime. That's financial crime. Now, it's not historically accurate to say that today we live. It is now historically accurate to say that we live in more enlightened times than the times of feudalism. But in the past, such crime families and owners of banks, industry, oil companies, pharmaceuticals, and drug cartels, that's in the age of the robber barons of the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, had an effect on the laws that were passed by the government. They didn't allow laws that would harm them to be passed. To give a modern example, in Saudi Arabia and Yemen, the Bin Ladens are not facing murder charges for terror attacks against the US. Why? Because the Bin Ladens will own the oil companies, banks, and construction companies. In Islamic law, the Bin Ladens are not murderers. Now we must always apply the legal rule of who benefits, cui bono, who has motive, and a note in historical facts about law and money. He who has the gold makes the law, the golden rule, that is. So we are trapped by common law until someone in the United States makes a class action, or a powerful and wealthy individual makes an action against the banks or government for economic mismanagement or even fraud. Now, where power holds us hostage, we must meet it with greater force. Hence, when terrorists hold our policies, foreign and domestic and military, hostage to their violence, we do not capitulate, but we meet force with force. So where the banks hold our economy hostage, we are their creditors. Society has the right to abolish or change them. If the United States citizens have the right to abolish or change their government through democratic or revolutionary means, then why can't we do the same with banks? Are banks more sacred than government? No. Banks are institutions just like government. And so the US Constitution was designed to contain or eliminate the use of power in affecting law. If common law is not sufficient, then we should create a statute law that is. See? And that's my case. Okay? There will be a follow-on talk about the pensions crisis. Just keep a lookout on my channel, InfoCamp. All the best to you, and peace.